What's going on, guys? John Santos, and on this channel we bring clarity to business and help entrepreneurs build brands that impact the world from the ground up. In a previous video we did on this channel, we showed you guys how to do a 3D effect as well as a floating effect on products such as face masks, and we touched on a hat tutorial. But I realized that a lot of you guys were wondering, John, where's the full tutorial? So today, guess who we got in the studio? The man, Mike. He's gonna be going into the details about how to create a floating object. Mike, tell them what we're gonna be learning today.
Okay, so we went over some of it in the other video, which if you've seen it, great. If not, it'll be linked. Essentially what we're doing is two things. You need to figure out how you're gonna float it in camera, and then what we're looking for is to create the shadow, right? And so that it looks like it's floating, and you can do that in post or in camera. We wanna do it in camera to make it easy as possible. And then the last step is to Photoshop out whatever method you were using. And we're always gonna look for the easiest way to do it. So now,
jump into the tutorial.
Yeah, let's do it.
So before you get started, you're gonna need a few things, all of which you could find linked right in the video description below. You will need a backdrop, preferably white, or if you're going for a different look, you can go with a gray or any other color you prefer. Now, if you're going for the natural shadow like we were, you're gonna need a strong light. We used the Aperture 120D Mark II with the included reflector. This allowed us to cast a strong shadow around the product. You will also need some kind of string, or in our case, we used some of my wife's yarn that she uses for crochet. And you're gonna need a stand to be able to hang your product.
This is a hat we're gonna use is Doheny Boys. Shout outs to them for reaching out, sending some care packages. And so what are we gonna do with this setup?
So yeah, we have some of the yarn here, and I was trying to figure out a good way to suspend this. And initially we were looking at these holes, but I think they're too small. So unless we had some thread and a needle, we could maybe make it through there. But as a quick solution here, we're just gonna get it around this button at the top. We just gotta make sure that the string doesn't end up showing too much, but it looks pretty decent so far, so we're gonna go ahead and test that out.
So we need to stuff the inside of this hat to reduce the amount of Photoshop work in post. You can use some basic trash bags. We got some packaging material here, which will then hopefully successfully attach to the bottom. Gaff tape always helps. So I just put some tape on the inside to hold this from falling out. We wanted to make sure we didn't put it on the outside in case we wanted to grab a shot. This could easily be Photoshopped out, so looks pretty good.
Now what you're gonna wanna do is find the best location to place the string to hang your product.
We're using like a sound mic boom pole. Another option if you don't have this is to just stick it to the wall. Have the string coming down, but we had this laying around, so boom.
One of the things as you start to shoot is just getting it to stay still. If you wanted to, you could always throw like a second string onto it to help stabilize it. But today, we're just gonna we're gonna spray and pray.
Spray and pray.
Yep.
Key. Spray it, you pray it.
All right, now we're gonna move into some lighting just to make it look nice. So I want to get a dramatic look from this, and I really want to see if I can get the shadow to make to fall on the hat and then leave an actual shadow here so I don't have to Photoshop it later.
Dramatic effects will need a little bit of lighting to work with. He wants the shadows right underneath the hat, which is pretty interesting. I'm actually really interested to see how this comes out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to actually get it lower now.
So lower this thing, huh?
Yeah.
Important tip here, guys, is to make sure you take your time and get the best picture that you can in the camera. This will reduce the amount of time you need to spend in Photoshop. So you have to be mindful of any debris on your surface or things that may get in the way. Like in our case, the stand was on the table. We had to reposition it a few times to get it just right. Now this tip here is crucial if you're gonna be taking multiple product photos in a day. This will save you so much more time if you get it just right the first time.
So we've gotten all the shots that we needed now. Next, we're just gonna put it onto the computer and we're going to Photoshop these together.
We are using the Adobe Creative Cloud, which you can find linked down below for your subscription. We start by importing our images and do some editing in Lightroom and then move them into Photoshop.
So the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and duplicate the layer so we can work off the top one here. I'm gonna switch to the clone stamp, and my idea is that we're gonna get rid of this bottom section of it so that I can patch tool the rest of it out without causing any kind of weird artifacts. So you switch to the patch tool, you can actually get rid of it in one swoop. And then I'm looking at the shadow here, and we're gonna do the same technique. We're just gonna get rid of that one section. It's gonna make it easier to patch tool it. Whoop, gone. Get rid of that little shadow. I don't need that. These little marks, oops. Okay, there we go. And then we're gonna go back to the stamp tool and we're just gonna fix up this. Just, yep, get that. And I'm basically just trying to make it look as natural as possible. And then we're gonna look for any small little lint. We're just gonna fix that up so the shadow looks nice. Okay, and then let's get rid of this little area here, clean it up. Any kind of imperfections I see on the paper. Okay, then I look for the same thing on the hat. Anything that I think that's gonna be distracting, just little tiny lint pieces. And we're using the healing brush here. All right, next we're gonna go into the liquify tool, and you can do that by hitting Command-Shift-X, Control-Shift-X if you're on PC. And then what I do is I'm basically going around to all the edges and I'm just reshaping the hat. And a lot of times you don't need to do this, but I just really love to get these details really dialed in and shape everything to look the way I want it to look. So it's just cleaning up the edges and then overall shape. We don't want to do anything too crazy. We want it to look as real as possible. So you're going to follow the lines and kind of follow the actual garment itself and not do anything outrageous. And yeah, you can kind of see the difference there. And it's crazy because you look at those tiny little movements, but it actually makes a huge difference. And then we're just gonna patch tool out that section there because it's kind of distracting to me. And then we'll go back in and using the same liquify Command-Shift-X, we can fix the shadow that we were working on earlier just to round it out and make it look a little more natural. And then going to the clone stamp tool, I wanna fix out this little area. It's not that big of a deal, but depending on where you're viewing this or where you're going to use it, I personally like to just get rid of these little imperfections. I want to be able to see the product how I see it, and I just want it to look picture perfect. Next part we're getting to is we're just going to crop, and you can hit C, and I'm cropping into a 4:5 aspect ratio here, and then I want to put it right in the center. Now this is something I like to do because in Instagram, if I'm cropping to 4:5, it actually shows more on the feed and takes up more space. And then next what we're gonna do is use this tool to create a circle. And you'll see why in just a second here. So we'll drop that circle in. I'm gonna put the fill to transparent, and then we are going to center it all up and make sure it's right in the middle. Then we switch to this type on path tool, and then we just type out Doheny Boys cap, and then we'll just paste that all the way around after we've typed on the path. And switching back to this move tool, actually if you hit A, it takes you to the other tool which allows me to actually shift where this text is going. And I think that's a good spot there. So we'll just drop that. And then we can actually hide or delete that ellipse tool, which there you go. We don't want to be destructive in case we need to use it later. And then, yeah, we're just going to size this down a little bit because I want to tuck some of the stuff behind the hat. And so if you want to tuck the stuff, we can delete it, but masking is going to be the better route here. So you just put that mask on, and black is going to make it disappear, and white is going to bring it back. So I'm just using the brush on the mask, and we're getting rid of all these little sections here. I want to be very careful as we go along the edges. And then we're going to come back and get rid of these other parts that we don't need. And let's take a look at it from the top here. Cool, before and after. And that's kind of how you make something float and add a little element to it that makes it look more interesting.
Bro, that was fire, man.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun.
I'm telling you guys, in the last video, we had a lot of comments of people like, yo, you didn't show the entire hat tutorial. And we didn't do that because it would have been a 30-minute video. But even Mike was like, yo, you guys didn't show the entire hat tutorial. So I felt like we had to bring you back, and then that way we can finalize this and help creators and entrepreneurs that are watching this type of content have another tool in their toolbox, like you say, right? In order to pull out and create some really cool marketing materials. So if you guys haven't seen the last video we showed you guys how to do a 3D floating effect, which worked really well for masks, as well as any product that has two-dimensional that you want to show like a 3D effect. So we had people in the comments saying, I'm using this for my journals, I'm using this for all other types of products. So make sure you guys check out that video. And more importantly, make sure you guys check out Proper Worldwide in Mike's channels, where they continue to help you guys elevate your branding and marketing game. Mike, is there any other place that they could find you or any other place that you want to point them to for resource-wise?
Definitely our Instagram at Proper Worldwide, where we just share a lot of inspirational designs and carousels from other people who help you design better, better color theory and all of that. And I think it's just a great place for us to have conversation and join each other's networks.
Most definitely, guys. So if you're a new visitor to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notification bells. We continue to provide this type of content in addition to other marketing tips, branding, e-commerce, and much more to help you develop yourself on your journey. And make sure you check out all of the links in the description, where we're going to link his channels as well as our Instagrams, his Instagram, his website. So that way you guys can be accustomed to our community and start networking with one another. More importantly, we'll see you guys on the next video.